Welcome in, everyone, as we come to you live with a special edition of the Countdown to Kickoff show, as we come to you from Screwballs in King of Prussia, our weekly home for the Countdown to Kickoff show, and a great spot. And as we've said every week out here at Screwballs, I think the best sports bar in the Philadelphia region. So if you're consuming our content, if you're watching the Countdown to Kickoff show, definitely worth getting out to Screwballs. Great spot out here in King of Prussia. It's Krause and Luigi for our special edition of the Countdown to Kickoff show, all presented by Ocean Casino. Book your next weekend at Ocean Casino. Go for the win. And also Stateside Vodka. Go to statesidevodka.com. Use the key phrase or the keyword JAKIB and get 15% off a 1-liter bottle. And if you're in Pennsylvania, they'll deliver right to your door. Countdown to Kickoff show. Luigi, welcome in. Lot to talk about. This is the week that we finally transition out of that opening 6-game schedule. And we finally get to a point in the schedule, 2 and 4, but we finally make it to a point where not only can we compete, we've got a legitimate shot to win this football game before we go to Detroit the following week.
Yeah, and it's funny, Joe, because, again, usually in the NFL, you know, even from a betting standpoint, between like weeks 4 and 6, when you start realizing, you know, the cream of the crop starts rising to the top, everybody else starts falling by the wayside. And we see where we're at right now. We're a middling team right now, 2 and 4. And so many questions, you know, obviously the quarterback being the number one question. And people are on the fence, right? You're on one side of the fence, the other with Jalen Hurts. Either you got all the faith in the world in him, he's going to get it together, he's going to become the franchise quarterback, we made the right move, he shows promise, or you're on my side of the fence, this guy stinks. All right, he's not a starting NFL quarterback in the league. He's just not. I mean, I think he's going to be a good backup somewhere. But the thing that I am seeing a lot of, and this is the reason why, Joe, that you were talking about this being a very winnable game before the Detroit game, is that you got to tip your cap to the defense. And to Gannon, I mean, he's got these guys competing every single play, not every game. These guys compete every play. They play hard. I will always tip my cap to a defense that plays hard. I don't care what the name on the back of the jersey is. It doesn't have to be Dawkins. It doesn't have to be Ed Reed. It doesn't have to be Troy Polamalu. It doesn't have to be all these other players out there that are fantastic to bring in every play. It could be a no-name guy. It could be, right now, it's Avonte Maddox out there. He's playing fantastic. Because you want to know why? He's competing. He's making life hard on opposing wide receivers. And same thing with this defensive front. They may not be getting home, but they are getting close. They're getting closer and closer. Every single game, they're getting closer and closer. You sound like the defensive coordinator, Jonathan Gannon, at his press conference on Tuesday after the team comes back from, they lose the game on Thursday, and then they have kind of, call it a mini bye week. Well, I prepped them for this.
Well, hold on, let me finish this. The coordinators both speak on Tuesday, and the question, Gannon is questioned, and that's what he's talking about. But at the end of the day, it's the result. The result is what's important. If the defense is the strong suit of this football team, the defense has to do a better job, and they have to get home. You're going up against a quarterback, Derek Carr. Which Derek Carr is going to show up this week? The front four have to get pressure on Derek Carr. He's got a lot of weapons.
No, you absolutely got to get home against a guy like Derek Carr. This is a team that gets vertical, loves to get vertical, and they got the speed on the outside to do it with Ruggs. And again, Darren Waller, in my opinion, is next to Travis Kelce, is the best tight end in the league. So he's a nightmare in the middle of the field. The thing is, though, when you were talking about just now about saying, you got to get home, right? I mean, they're almost there. They're almost there. They're almost there. They're making progress. This team, as much as we want them to win every single game, they're not going to. This is not a Super Bowl team. If somehow, some way, Dallas falls apart and they get into a play, this is totally hypothetically speaking, they get into a playoff, great. But you want to see these guys progress each week. You want to see them get better from week to week. Because, again, you don't have much depth on this team, Joe. As you look around, that is one of the weak points of this team is the depth on this team. But so these guys are playing ample amount of time. And while they're out there, you just want to see them getting better and better each and every play. And that's what they're doing. They're not just getting better physically. They're getting better just upstairs. They're becoming smarter and more savvy players on the defensive side of the ball. And that's what I really like about Gannon is that even though it's not ending in results of a ton of turnovers, a ton of sacks. They're on the cusp of getting good. They're getting good. And that's what I'm excited to see, because it's like going in the next year, Joe, we got to fill a roster. And if you don't have to do so much shopping on the free agency market because you got some homegrown talent here, that helps out a lot, man.
Luigi, I don't want to look too far to pass this game on Sunday.
I'm trying to look positive going forward. That's all.
Listen, I feel good about the football game on Sunday. I feel as though the football team can come in and have a legitimate chance to not only compete, but actually get out of Las Vegas with a win. That pressure from Javon Hargrave is going to be super important. The pressure from Fletcher Cox is going to be super important. The Raiders have not, even though coming into the season, we're supposed to have more of a running game than they've actually showed. So Derek Carr is going to look to pass the football. They're going to have to get pressure on him to minimize him as a threat.
No, 100% agree, Joe. The thing is, that you have Josh Jacobs back there, and they bring in Kenyon Drake to back him up. Jacobs was a little banged up early on, but he's okay now. The thing is that the Raiders, had this anointed offensive line, this superior offensive line. It's really not that good. It's really not that good. Everyone was sold on the Raiders' offensive line being fantastic. It's really not that good. With Carr's mobile, but he's more of a pocket passer, right? He does like to load up, and he does like to go vertical down the field. You do have time to get home on Derek Carr. He will make mistakes. He's a competitor, but he will make a lot of mistakes. And I think this week, Joe, I think this is the week that, all that effort up front, I think this is the week you're going to hear Fletcher Cox's name called in that in that sack stat box, and you're going to see maybe an interception or two out of this Philadelphia Eagles secondary. That's what I think is going to happen, man.
NFL insider John McMullen earlier this week across the JAKIB Media YouTube channel on Football 24/7 put Derek Carr as a middle of the road, a middle in the middle of the pack in terms of where he ranks in terms of quarterbacks in this league. On our side of the football, the conversation across sports radio continues. Is it Jalen Hurts or is it head coach Nick Sirianni? Is Nick Sirianni protecting Jalen Hurts? Is Jalen Hurts not able to execute? What is the dynamic and how will it play out? We'll see a little bit of that on Sunday, but regardless of anything, Nick Sirianni needs to open up the playbook.
Yeah.
They've figured out the RPO offense and the limited number of plays that the offense is running.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, Sirianni's play calling right now is about as flat as my hair. It's not good. It's not a good thing right now. And the problem is that I firmly believe that he is trying to put Jalen in a position where he doesn't look bad and make mistakes, i.e. throwing the ball in the middle of the field, having him try to run RPOs, which we talked about ad nauseum, Joe. And I mean, you've heard McMullen talk about it, Jody Mack on other platforms, that you're running during the course of the day, and Birds 365 and things like that. And they talk about they run the RPO, but he's not very good at it. He holds on to it too much. He doesn't give the ball to Sanders. Let Sanders run the ball. At this point, in order to get a full spectrum on what Jalen Hurts can be, and not make an assumption like I have and many others have of what he is, you got to open it completely up. You got to let him make. It doesn't matter. It's baptism under fire. Throw the ball in the middle of the field. Get the ball to the outside. Stretch the field as much as you can. Have him do all the throws you don't think he can do. Do them anyway. You have to. You have to right now, because you got to know going forward what you got. If you got something you can really build with, or you got something you go, in the offseason, maybe we got to move away from this guy. But I know you don't like to get too far ahead of ourselves, but for the time being, for this game on the road, you have no home field crowd pressure. House money on the road with the Raiders. This is a defense you can run and you can throw on, okay? And they're also coming home off a huge emotional win on the road against Denver in a divisional game, playing one for the interim head coach. Typically, teams fall back a little bit after a big win like that. So this may be a good spot to get Jalen Hurts right and get him going for this home game against Detroit coming up.
It's Krause and Luigi here on the Countdown to Kickoff show as we broadcast from Screwballs. We'll take our first commercial break. On the other side of the break, Marc Farzetta will join us. We'll get his perspective on the Eagles-Raiders. Back in a moment. And we're back here live on the Countdown to Kickoff show as we broadcast to you. It's our look in to the Eagles-Raiders, our first opportunity after the first 6 to feel good about an Eagle opportunity to get a win today or a win on Sunday against the Raiders. We're all presented by Ocean Casino. Book your next weekend at Ocean Casino and Resort. Go for the win. Marc Farzetta now joins us here on the Countdown to Kickoff show. Marc, how are you, brother?
Doing fantastic. What's going on? Happy to be on with you guys.
Great to have you, brother. Thank you much, man, and appreciate you joining the Countdown to Kickoff show. Marc, first I want to shout out. I want to give you a big, huge shout out for all of your work that is getting done with the Zach Ertz Foundation. It's been incredible to watch. Tell us a little bit about it. Update us on where that process is in terms of generating money for the Ertz Foundation. It's been really spectacular.
Thank you very much for acknowledging that. Thank you very much for saying that. I am merely a spectator doing whatever I can to help the Ertz Family Foundation, run by Lisa Ertz, Zach's mom, as well as Zach himself and his awesome wife, Julie. They are doing incredible things in the city of Philadelphia. And, I mean, I grew up in the suburbs, so coming to live in Philadelphia in my adult life, I have been able to watch the city grow. And Zach, Julie, and Lisa only want to expedite that process, not only with development in general, but more so helping the youth of Philadelphia, so that people can go out there, find a place to learn, find a place to play, get on Wi-Fi, and that's what they're doing right now with the House of Hope. That's going to double as a learning center, a Wi-Fi cafe, as well as a place of worship on Sundays. And that's all from Zach, Julie, and Lisa, just trying to help the community. It's going to be in Hunting Park. A gentleman by the name of Pastor Rob's going to run it. He's overseeing everything. And they got a big event coming up on Tuesday, which I'll actually be hosting with Lisa. And Zach and Julie were supposed to be there, but as we all know, Zach's now in Arizona. But I've been lucky enough to just have a front row seat of everything that they've been able to do over the last 9 years in Philadelphia with the Ertz Family Foundation, and I appreciate that. I mean, look, Zach caught a touchdown in the Super Bowl to win that game. That was a game-winning touchdown for the Eagles. But what he does as a citizen of Philadelphia far exceeds that for every Philadelphia.
Really great stuff from Marc Farzetta joining us here on the Countdown to Kickoff show with Krause and Luigi as we broadcast you and lead you in to the Eagles-Raiders game coming up. And it's a game, Luigi, that we talked about in our opening segment where we kind of both feel as though this is the game where potentially the team can get right. We'll see how it all plays out, but that's the thought.
Well, Joe, I mean, the game's in Vegas, so it's a gamble either way, right? And, Marc, I just want to say as a lifelong Philadelphian, geographically speaking, you're doing it the wrong way. You're supposed to start in Philadelphia and then leave and go to the suburbs. That's what you're supposed to be doing. But we appreciate you being back into the city and helping out with doing the Ertz Foundation, which is fantastic news. I mean, it's amazing whenever you're able to, like as you said, be able to sit back and have a front row seat and watch these people do what they do and help and just be like, an outsider trying to help as much as you possibly can and push the charity, push the narrative of all of these people. It's amazing.
Yeah, like I said, it's all that. Like I'll also say this: when the pandemic hit, Lisa called. It's actually a funny story. Lisa called me and she said, "We want to get the word out of what we want to do. We want to donate to Phil Abundance to get the ball rolling with a lot of athletes in Philadelphia to donate money." So I said, "Yeah, sure." And she goes, "Yeah, I'd like to do the interview over Zoom." And I had no idea what Zoom was at that point. I had never been on it, never heard of it. And she goes, "So can we do it over Zoom?" And I said, "Absolutely, no problem." I got on the phone with my producer at the time, and he said, "I've never heard of that. Let me look it up." Looked it up. It looked great. So I interviewed Zach and Julie, maybe 2 days after sports shut down. And I think they were already putting up about $100,000 to Phil Abundance. Jason Kelsey jumped on that bandwagon. I think he did $50,000, if I'm not mistaken. I think Connor Barwin put up about $25,000. So they started the ball rolling with all these different athletes around Philadelphia to make sure that the city of Philadelphia, for people that couldn't work, were out of work because of the pandemic, were going to get fed. And that just goes to show how great people they are in trying to take care of the people of the city.
Mark, let's talk football. Let's talk Eagles, Raiders, and get some thoughts from you. Our good buddy Lane Johnson back to work this week. We'll see how he holds up, and we'll see what kind of impact he'll have. But it's great to be able to say that Lane Johnson will start for this football team.
I mean, look. Anytime you can get Lane Johnson starting at right tackle for you, you're gonna have a good day. The offensive line, I was pleasantly surprised, having been down 3 starters over the last few weeks. Actually played well. Guys took major steps in their maturation process of becoming actual legit NFL offensive linemen. But Lane's back, so hopefully that gives you a little bit more flow, a little bit more fluidity, a little bit more confidence in the right side of that offensive line, which of course it will. But really, it comes down to the fact that, as great as it is to have Lane back, I'm worried about Nick Sirianni, about his game plan, about his play calling, because that's been the bigger worry for me, a lot more than offensive line play. But yes, it's great to have Lane back, and it's great to have him in a place where he feels like he's comfortable getting back to football.
Let's talk about that. And Luigi, I know you want to jump in, but let me just follow up with Mark's reference to the head coach, Nick Sirianni. Let's talk about that, Mark. You don't have to go far. You'll hear the chatter on the Farzy show every day, Monday through Friday. The debate, the discussion is out there. Is the head coach running or protecting Jalen Hurts, his starting quarterback, or is the head coach in over his head? What's your thought?
In over his head. I'm very concerned about Nick Sirianni. I mean, he turns into the guy from the introductory press conference almost every time he's in the red zone, and that's not good. That's the time to be confident. That's the time to be sure of yourself. That's the time to know what the play is to call next. So I don't see that guy very often. You've started to see a little bit of it, but the main thing that concerns me is he does not help out his quarterback at all. If Jalen Hurts is only starting his 7th, 8th, 9th game ever in the NFL, and he's a second-round pick that was kind of thrown into this situation through the Wentz trade, I don't think he's the guy that you want to put the weight of the world on the shoulders of right away, as they're doing. So maybe run the football. And I'm not saying like this is anything like Andy Reid or Doug Peterson where they abandon the run. The point I make is that this guy doesn't abandon the run. He ignores the run. At least the guys that abandoned the run were with the run at some point. That's what concerns me about Nick Sirianni. There is absolutely no balance whatsoever to this offense. The creativity in this offense is fleeting, and everything relies on the ability of Jalen Hurts, which last time I checked wasn't the number 1 overall pick looking to lead an offense. He was a guy looking to just earn a job in the NFL. So I think they're putting way too much on him. That falls on the head coach. And you can't ignore the stories that are out there regarding Jeffrey Lurie and the type of offense that he wants to run. Most notably the story in Green Bay where Jeffrey Lurie was questioning Doug Peterson as to why he ran the ball so much in a game they won at Lambeau Field. So I think Nick Sirianni is a first-year head coach, the guy looking to the guy looking to impress his boss is going a little overboard with the passing offense that he's running right now.
Yeah, it's funny because Mark, you talk about Miles Sanders, right? And it's basically at this point, he and Ben Simmons should catch a movie somewhere. So they got plenty of time on each other's hands. They're not even doing anything. There's basically spectators.
Yeah, one willing and the other not so much.
But they're basically spectators, right? And this is the part that baffles me, and it just infuriates this fan base, and it, quite frankly, probably puzzles defensive coordinators all around the league. Going, why are you not even trying to run the ball? This doesn't make any sense. Like, it makes zero sense. And you have a quarterback. All right, like you said, he's second round pick. He gets thrusted into as a starter, and you're trying to figure out what he has, right? It's not Jalen's fault he got drafted in the 2nd round. He's supposed to be a 3rd, 4th round pick. It's not his fault. But he comes in there with the tools that he has. So you have to work with what you have. But you don't exactly give him the right play calls to do that. You're really hurting the kid. You're not letting him work to his strengths. That's the problem. And that's where I agree with a lot of other people out there in the media who will say the same thing. It's like, the play calling is just head scratching. And I agree with what you said, just to piggyback off of your point, all the way up into the red zone, it's okay. It's okay. But when he gets down into the money spot, he looks like he's completely just lost. Like, he has no idea what he's doing down there. Like, he's just he's scrolling through the Madden screen looking for the best play, computer pick. All right, we'll go with that one right there. That looks good. It's another pass. That one looks good. We'll go with that one.
Yeah, he's a big fan of the drag plays, the drag screens.
That's what it is.
He's a big fan of the bubble screens.
Yeah.
Everything. That's what he's a real big fan of. Yeah, absolutely.
Marc Farzetta joining us here on the Countdown to Kickoff show. You'll catch Marc Farzetta on the live post-game show with Derrick Gunn, Marc Farzetta, and Devin Caney, all coming up following the Eagles-Raiders across the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. You'll also find them on 6abc.com, hopefully talking about a W. Marc, what does this football team need to do to get out of Vegas with a win? I think they can compete. What do they have to do to get a W against Derek Carr and the Raiders?
And Marc, real quick, don't say score more points than the Raiders, because that was my answer and I already took it, so don't do that.
Don't worry, I won't go that route. But one thing, I'm about to blow your minds with something here. There's actually something Jonathan Gannon does with his defense that fits very well against this Raiders team, and that's have his safeties play about ballpark it about 40 yards off the line of scrimmage.
It's 44,
so
actually, 44.
Yeah. That way you know Henry Ruggs is going to get over the top and take the top off the defense there. So that's good. That's a good matchup to have against Henry Ruggs. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. Obviously, Darius Slay will control anything on the short yardage situations when it comes to slants or anything like that with Henry Ruggs, while you'll have this over-the-top safety help there. So that'll be good. The other part of this that actually goes in the Eagles' favor, I think, is that you have Derek Carr, who is playing pretty good football. I mean, he's around 100 in his passer rating. I believe his career is right around there as well. So he was having himself a pretty good year. They got a prove-it win without John Gruden last week against the Denver Broncos, a team that really hasn't shown me much, but they still struggled a little bit in that one. But the thing that I think fits the Eagles well here is that you're going up against an offensive line that I think is still trying to find their way. So you're looking at a guy like Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave, trying to put up and show that they can get those Pro Bowl numbers again. No better example than Javon Hargrave. So I think defensively, they're a good matchup. However, when it comes to the offense, that's the eternal question right now. You got 10 days between games. I've been referring to this on my show as Judgment Week with Nick Sirianni, because he had 10 days between games to do the self-evaluating. He had his 10 days to do the game planning and get ready for this game. I think he described it as an easier weekend to watch some other football games around the NFL and maybe learn a little bit as well. But to me, I need to see a good game plan from Nick Sirianni where he does use Jalen Hurts' strength, and he does allow Miles Sanders to get I'm not looking to get crazy here. Let's give him 10 carries. Give him 10 carries. That sounds bonkers compared to what you're looking for in the rest of the earlier in the season. But give him 10 carries. Get him 15 touches. See what he can do for you. Put the ball in the hands of your playmakers. Get Quez Watkins. I need to see Quez Watkins involved early, not some bomb down the field as almost a one-man Hail Mary later in the game. But I need to see it early in the game. And also, it seems like coming out early in the second half every single week, you start to see Devontae Smith work into the game plan. That guy can get worked in at any point. He's that good at getting open. Design something to hit him early, get involved in the game plan early, so he's helping you throughout the game as opposed to just taking up a defensive back through one quarter where you go to him 4 or 5 times in a row. Spread him out. Let the defense not know when he's going to get you. So it really comes down to the defense. I think actually looks good in this game. Offensively speaking, it all comes down to Nick Sirianni and how creative and how much improvement he's going to show in this game going against the Raiders.
Good stuff from Marc Farzetta. We'll talk about it, dissect it, and get into it on the live post-game show. Marc Farzetta, Derrick Gunn, and Devin Caney across the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. Farzy, great stuff, brother. Appreciate it, man.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks very much. Have a good rest of your show.
Good stuff from Marc Farzetta joining us here on the Countdown to Kickoff show. We'll take a commercial break. Back in a moment. And back here live on the Countdown to Kickoff show as we lead you into Eagles-Raiders football. We're fired up and feel really, really good, Luigi, about the Eagles' opportunity to get out of Las Vegas and look forward and perhaps get a W before going in to Detroit. And, of course, when the game plays out and when the game is over, across the JAKIB Media YouTube channel, they'll talk about it on the live post-game show with Derrick Gunn, Marc Farzetta, and Devin Caney. We'll talk right now to D. Gunn joining us here. Gunner, how are you, brother?
Joe, good, man. How are you tonight?
All good, man. Just trying to zero in, Gunner, and feel good about the game, about the Eagles' chances to get back in the win column. I said this to John McMullen on Football 24/7 earlier this week. I went back and watched and listened to our 3-hour schedule release broadcast. And to a man, every single guest on that program had the Eagles with 1 win or 2 wins coming out of the first 6. They were going to win in Atlanta, they were going to win in Carolina, and then everything else, not so much. So they're right where we expected them to be, yet we're very, very upset about them being in that position.
I think that's the case because when you look at the way they played against San Francisco and you look at the way they played against Kansas City, they had opportunities to win those games, and they missed out on some great opportunities because of touchdowns being called back, unnecessary penalties. And I think that was frustrating to the fan base more than anything else, especially against Kansas City, was the fact that, okay, nobody expected them to win that game except those guys in that Eagles locker room. And coming out of that game, you look back at what happened and you think, had they made a few more plays here and there, had they had a few less penalties here and there, the outcome might have been a little bit different. And unfortunately, it wasn't. But then again, when you look at the bigger scheme of things, this was a team that I've talked about time and time again on multiple platforms that had to go through some growing pains with a new head coach, a new coaching staff, a quarterback that only had 4 games of NFL experience under his belt, now transitioning into a new offensive system, a new primary receiver in Devontae Smith. So we watched this team go through those growing pains. Now they've had some extended time off. I hope Nick Sirianni, Jonathan Gannon, the coaching staff has dissected time and time again every game they've played up to this point, and hopefully will capitalize on those mistakes and not make those mistakes moving forward. But then again, you know, when people have tried to pin me down to predict how many wins and losses, this is one of the years where I have, you know, I've been adamant about not predicting because I don't know what to expect from this team. I just want to see them get consistently better individually and collectively, and I would be satisfied with that. Now, if that adds up to more wins than losses, then so be it. And obviously with the league adding an extra playoff spot, who knows, especially with the back half of their schedule being a lot more lenient than the front half, who knows what could happen down the stretch. But as long as I'm seeing progress, consistent progress with this team, that's all I've been asking for every week.
Derrick, this is Luigi talking now. And I want to piggyback on some things you said, and I also want to give you a few thoughts of my own. You know, this fan base, I mean, you've been around this town for however long it takes you to smoke that many ribs. You know what I mean? So it's been
24 years.
There it is, exactly. So many racks have been run by you, my friend. And the one thing you know is that this fan base is a very educated fan base. Okay, like we know the game, we know the team, we know football here. And it's very hard to pull the wool over the eyes of a fan base here. Now you have your cheerleader fans and your outsiders that kind of hang on and just kind of watch from a it's a fun, it's fantasy football and we're going to tailgate kind of a thing. But the real fans, they were looking for what you were saying. They were looking for consistency, right? And for progress. We've gotten consistency. It's been consistently bad on the play calling by this coach. That's the problem. There's been no progress because of the consistency of the head coach. These games that you spoke about earlier, they were winnable games. The players didn't lose those games. I mean, look at the Chiefs. Look at the Chiefs game. You bring in the worst rush defense in the league at that time, and you decide to not run the ball. That's not exactly conducive to winning strategy right there for football. He gets away from everything that he should be doing. And the thing is that I haven't seen this head coach ascend in any single aspect that I need to see a head coach ascend in from week to week to feel any confidence whatsoever going forward that there will be any sort of positive consistency at all.
Gunnar, your thoughts on that?
I agree with you in terms of the play calling has been abysmal and gut-wrenching at times. But I don't solely blame it on the head coach. The players have to make plays. Okay? When you consistently have false starts, illegal procedures, illegal formation, those things are on the players having the mental lapses. When you have the drops, those are on the players. The touchdowns being called back. Think about how many games they've had touchdowns called back because of penalties. Those are on the players. The coaching staff can put them in a better position, absolutely. But whatever's called, the players have to execute it. And for the most part, they have not consistently executed. So it does start at the top with the head coach. And I'm hoping, as I said a few moments ago, that he has sat down, he has taken a good look at himself in the mirror, and realized that he has not lived up to his expectations of being this so-called boy wonder play caller that Frank Reich built him up to be before he got here, and that he needs to adapt and change a lot quicker. And he has to have a little bit more trust in players like Miles Sanders in particular. So I want to see now if he is adapt. This league is all about adaptability. Now I want to see if this head coach has adapted in any way, shape, or form to make the overall product that much better and more competitive and give them more opportunities to win games, especially in crunch situations.
Derrick Gunn joining us here on the Countdown to Kickoff show. Of course, when the game ends, the live post-game show with Derrick Gunn, Marc Farzetta, and Devin Caney. Gunnar, before I let you go, one last question, and it's more of an opportunity for you to take time to talk about Lane Johnson and his return. It was so great to see him get back on the football field earlier this week. I know you've got a great relationship with Lane. Let me give you the floor, my friend, just to talk about that. It was really good to see.
Well, first and foremost, glad to see him back on the football field, but more importantly, I'm glad to see him back where he needs to be mentally. I knew for weeks what was going on with him, but I was asked not to say anything. It was not my place to be the first one to put it out there. And, you know, in this social media world that we live in today, everybody wants to know everything about everybody's business, but there are some things that are not for public knowledge until that individual decides to put it out there. You know, we put professional athletes on this pedestal that they are invincible, but we also forget that they're human. Just because they're on a national platform, they make millions of dollars, doesn't make them invincible. They all have human issues, human problems they have to go through as well. You know, I look at a guy like Brian Dawkins, who's a Hall of Fame athlete, but if you get to know Brian Dawkins, you'll find out the inner struggle he went through for much of his career, dealing with depression, contemplating suicide. And even today, at the age of 48, he still battles and wins fights with depression. So it's out there. And when a guy like Lane Johnson, Brandon Brooks, openly tells you that you're not alone and you can beat this thing, I think is an inspiration and an encouragement to a lot of people out there that feel they have nowhere to go, nowhere to turn to combat, you know, mental health issues like that. You know, football is a big part of Lane's life, but it's not the most important thing in his life. And it shouldn't be when you go through struggles like that. I know people who have dealt with anxiety and depression. And, you know, I've seen people at their downest moments, and I've seen people at their highest moments as well dealing with that. And, you know, I just say, you know, people, you know, be patient, be more understanding, you know, because you don't know if somebody you really know is affected by these same things, and how would you treat them? You know, I look at some of the comments on social media about Lane. You know, it's about time he got his butt back out there. He's making millions of dollars. Suck it up and put on your big boy pants. You know, those are the kind of insensitive things that you don't need. A person doesn't need when they're going through, you know, when you're fighting demons like that, you know, that's the kind of stuff you don't need to hear. But luckily for Lane and the Brandon Brooks, and hopefully a lot of people out there, if you have the right support group around you, you can overcome anything in your life. So, again, I'm happy Lane's back on the football field, but more importantly, I'm more elated that he's back where he needs to be, both mentally as well as physically.
Yeah, and Derrick, you know, just to chime in on what you said right there, it's, this is coming from someone, myself, and I've said this on other platforms, back in 2017, I shouldn't even be here right now. I nearly ended my own life in 2017 coming back from the Super Bowl. It was a very emotional time. I've battled anxiety myself. I've created charities, and I've been at the forefront of these things myself. And the most important thing is information, right? Is learning.
Yeah.
The more we know, the less we're afraid of. And the fact is that people that a guy like Lane who kept it quiet. One of the reasons why people like that and people like myself and people that are going through things keep it quiet is because other people don't know how to react. They don't know. And you say something, it's like, I'm really down about this, or I'm going through this, and someone says, oh, just shake it off and go to work. Oh, you're playing football. It's like, he's still a man. He's still a human being. You don't know what he's going through. And that's the problem. And the thing is that, someone like myself who's nowhere near on the level of one of those players, when one of those guys step up and say something, it at least creates awareness. And it should create awareness in every single person out there to go out there and educate yourself about something you know nothing about, so that way you can communicate with other human beings that we walk around this planet with who you call brother and sister on a daily basis. And that's what you should be doing.
And I think it's imperative that you surround yourself with positive people in situations like that. People who are going to lift you up and not tear you down. I think that's the most important thing when you're trying to combat and defeat those inner demons. It's imperative that people around you are supportive and uplifting. I think that's as big a medicine as you can possibly have, even more so than maybe talking to a therapist or being on some kind of medication. Having people that are there to pick you up when you're down is of the utmost importance.
Well, it's important to feel, as anybody, it's important to feel safe, in any surrounding you're in. But when you have someone who's anxious, it's imperative for them to feel safe in their surroundings. So you need to surround yourself with people that understand you, that will make you feel safe, that you don't have to worry about being judged, and that you feel that it's okay to not be okay around them, and they support you.
Exactly right. Exactly, and they won't judge you.
Exactly.
Luigi, thank you for that. D. Gunn, I appreciate you checking in here on the Countdown to Kickoff show as we go to the break, Gunner, and we say thank you to you. Remember this, my friend. Athletes are just people who play games for a living. The people are important. The games are not, brother.
Hey, you guys have a great evening, and thanks for having me on.
All right, good stuff from Derrick Gunn here. We'll take a commercial break. The Countdown to Kickoff show rolls on. Back in a moment. Jumping on in that last segment, great stuff from Marc Farzetta as well. Remember, for when the game ends, the live post-game show with Derrick Gunn, Marc Farzetta, and Devin Caney. Our final segment of the night, Luigi, let's try and zero in on what to expect or what you think will happen in this game. 4 o'clock kick, Eagles-Raiders in Las Vegas. Will Derek Carr have a monster game against the Eagle defense? Will the head coach, will Nick Sirianni, open up the playbook? Let's deal with those first two questions.
Those first two questions? That's enough for an entire show, Joe.
Yes, it is.
I think, let's start with I'll go with the former before the latter. So, Derek Carr, I don't foresee him having a huge game. I don't. That offense is not exactly what it was built to be. As Mark mentioned, that offense, and I talked about before that the offensive line isn't exactly playing to what they were supposed to be advertised as, this unbelievable road grading offensive line. They're not very good at pass protection. This is why I think Hargrave and Fletcher Cox, you will hear his name this week. He will get his first sack. You can book that, put it down, write it down. I said it, October 21st.
He's second, I think.
It's second. It's been so long before the other one, Joe. It's been so long before the other one. Since the other one, excuse me. I do think that I'm actually a little excited for this game. I'm a little excited for I think this is going to be a fun game to watch for the Eagles. I think they're going to be loose, Joe. I think they're going to play fast. I think they're going to be effective. I do. Again, we haven't seen it, but I do feel that Sirianni actually will make a commitment to run this football, because you can run it against Oakland. Again, I mean, you can run it against any team, obviously, but you can run effectively against Oakland. And
Las Vegas, excuse
me.
Same thing.
There'll always be Oakland to me. I apologize.
No doubt about that.
I apologize. I didn't mean to offend any Raider Nation out there still hanging around. I feel it's also a big step in the right direction, getting Lane back on the right side of that field. Okay, again, you're not just getting Lane Johnson back. You're getting the top 5 player at his position in the NFL back. That's a huge difference, okay? You'll be able to run the ball a little bit more easier on the right side doing that. I think it'll let Jalen have a little bit more time so you don't have to escape so much. He could probably go through his third read as opposed to only his second read, get the ball in the middle of the field a little bit. Dallas Goedert is going to be playing. It's now his show alone. No more Ertz over there hanging out with him. We'll see what he's got going forward. I think they're going to be good. I think it's going to be a very loose game for the Eagles. I think they're going to be flying around making plays all day long, Joe.
Dallas Goedert came off of the COVID list, went back to work. He came off the COVID list on Thursday. He didn't actually go back to work. He went back to work. He didn't practice. He was a DNP, did not practice on Thursday. But Dallas Goedert, as you said, will expect good things or big things out of him. If, of course, Jalen can find his way to working the middle of the field. Here's an amazing statistic. Coming out of the first 6 games, and this is courtesy of John McMullen. Can you put a number on the number of pass attempts?
Just attempts.
Just attempts. Over the middle of the field. Let's say the number of attempts after the first 6 games are 240.
I was going to say 9.
240 pass attempts after 6 games for Jalen Hurts.
Right.
The number of pass attempts in the middle of the field. What do you think it is?
Honestly, 9. I think it's 9.
Wow. Well, 9. I don't know if you were providing that in just as a joke or in gesture.
I literally just made that number up.
The actual answer is 6. But think about that.
That's crazy. I know.
6 plays.
That's insane.
6 pass plays over the middle of the field in 6 games. Just not going to work.
Well, Joe, let's go to average. That's 1 a game.
1 a game.
1 a game. That's all you got. They play for this. They plan for this, Joe. Sirianni all week long. He scouts out his best play for the middle of the field, and he runs that one single play.
Well, Marc Farzetta, I thought, made a good point. Let's get Devontae Smith involved in the offense out of the box.
Yes. See,
let's not wait until the second half. Let's get him engaged early.
And Mark had to go, Joe, and we were ready to jump segment, and he was talking about the Ertz Foundation, which is fantastic. And I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to talk about his point about getting Devontae Smith involved early and often. And my thing is that, and I've been saying this religiously, don't integrate him into the offense. Lean on him. Make him the focal point of the offense. Get him the ball early and often. I mean, he's got to get he's got to get north of 10 passes thrown his direction each game. He has to. You got to feed this kid the ball, because when he gets the ball in his hands, good things happen. He's a playmaker. Get him the ball.
It's Countdown to Kickoff show from Screwballs. Don't forget to get out here next week.
Yeah, I heard some smithering about what's going to be happening, Joe. What's the big news?
We got good stuff tonight, but get out here next week. We're going to send somebody from Screwballs out to Detroit next week.
To Detroit?
All right, somebody next week from Screwballs will get an opportunity to go out to Detroit.
Did they do something wrong? Are they being punished?
They're not being punished. They might be going out to see an Eagle victory next week. That's all next week.
That's amazing.
So that's good stuff.
I'll kick in some bottled water for anybody who wants to who makes the trip. No, Detroit.
Listen, that may be our next win.
You get the. Would you rather take the trip to Detroit or the cases of bottled water instead?
That may be our next win. That, of course, right back at Screwballs next week. Don't forget the live post-game show with Derrick Gunn, Marc Farzetta, Devin Caney across the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. Time for picks, Luigi, because Henry's vacationing.
Yeah, he is. Where is he?
I don't know how you take a vacation night during football season.
Who does that? He calls himself a football man. Who does that?
The self-professed king of the coaching world. Yeah, that's true. Ted, I don't know how you take a vacation.
He's the self-proclaimed king of I'm taking my personal days. That's what he is. All right.
That's where he is. We only have 16 of these.
17.
17. No, 16. 16 here. 17 games. 16 live countdown to kickoff
I'll come
shows.
back and do a show live for the hell of it.
And Henry bails tonight. So it's all on you. You pick. Eagles, Raiders. You pick the winner for us tonight, Luigi.
Hey, Eagles, 3-point underdog, flying into Las Vegas. I've been a higher underdog than that, flying into Las Vegas myself. I've come out victorious. The Eagles will also come out victorious. Get right game for Philly coming back. 27-23 Philadelphia.
All right, we'll take it. An Eagles win against Derek Carr and the Las Vegas Raiders. Don't forget, we'll talk about it all on the live post-game show with Derrick Gunn, Marc Farzetta, and Devin Caney. And don't forget next week to join us and get out to Screwballs, where I can emphatically say, with an exclamation point.
2 exclamation points?
I think it's worth 2.
All right.
We provide the best experiences.
Oh, that's not even a question.
All of the people that come out to Screwballs.
That's not even a question. I'll go home. I'll talk to people. I'll talk to other people in the media and get together and like, oh, yeah, we're doing this, or we're giving away this, and we're giving away that. I'm like, did you hear that we gave away a trip to Dallas? Like, all expenses paid to Dallas. Like, limousine rides from Screwballs, 2 games that are happening down at Lincoln Financial Field the night of. I mean, the stuff that's given away here.
You know what's going to be the best?
What's that?
Our Screwballs bus trip.
Oh, that's that. You can't miss that.
To Washington.
You can't miss that.
Which the game is on January 2nd. Mm-hmm. Every week we select 4 winners, and that bus will depart from Screwballs on January 2nd. That will be a lot of fun. Again, what was your final prediction for the game?
27-23 Philadelphia Eagles.
All right, that's going to do it for tonight's edition of the Countdown to Kickoff show. Special thanks to Derrick Gunn. Special thanks to Marc Farzetta. And everybody out at Screwballs tonight. Great stuff tonight. We'll see you next time, everybody. Go Birds.
Go Birds.